Hello everyone, welcome to Warrior DNA. It is a beautiful, wonderful day today. A little warm outside, but I'm excited to celebrate. Today's actually my daughter's 17th birthday. So we've been having quite the fun around here. Lots of laughter, lots of joy, lots of fun going on. Today I just wanted to take a second and talk to you guys about something that's been stirring in my spirit. Many of you know that our new book is going to be coming out soon called Unleashed. This week I released a question I needed help on, whether to go with color or dark blacks on the cover. So you guys can go to the Facebook page there. I'd love for your vote to come in. It's really surprising and interesting the way the votes are rolling in. So go to my Facebook page and you guys can vote on which cover you think is the best cover. And it's real interesting as well, the comments as to why people are choosing and the private messages as well. So if you guys would help us out do that, that would be awesome. This week we're also launching our M Women Connect groups. Many of you know that I've spent a lot of time the last 10 years in corporate America and actually 30 years in direct sales before that. And just my life has been dedicated to raising up institutions and corporations. And this has been a really unique season that God has asked my husband and I to be willing to say yes to anything. And you know, it's really crazy. And I'm going to talk about this in just a second because this is something I included in the book. The topic that we're going to talk about is boldness. And as it relates to business, a lot of people have asked me, how do you do what you do? How do you build companies and businesses like you do? What gives you the boldness that you have? Well, today we're going to talk about that because I believe this is a topic that you can apply to your business. You can apply it to your marriage. You can apply it to your sex life. You can apply it to how you relate with your children. Boldness is a weapon. And we always talk about, praise is a weapon. Well, there's an element of boldness when you're praising in the midst of adversity as well. But today we're going to talk about how to make boldness work to your advantage. One of the things that in the chapter of the book that I talk about this book is about helping people gain greater effectiveness, whatever it is you do in the marketplace. It's called Unleashed and Anointed for Business. And I explain what that word anointed, it sounds really spiritual, but really it's a practical business term from way, way back when shepherds were tending their sheep. And I talk about it because I believe today there's this more and more an understanding needed of how do I apply my faith, how do I apply my boldness to the business realm? How do I get that winning edge? How do I walk into a boardroom and be able to discern spirits? How am I able to walk into a courtroom and instantly have the advantage? Well, boldness is an advantage. And when you can hear things differently because of a spirit relationship that you have with God, you're going to be able to have a different kind of boldness. Well, this week in the marketplace on Tuesday, we're actually launching our first M Women Connect groups. And I really felt led, my husband and I both, we felt really strong that we need to start having marketplace meetup groups for women on this topic of boldness in the marketplace, on being able to really live out your faith. There's a lot of marketplace conversations going on right now about women's empowerment and gender equality, racial equality. And while I love all that, I've stood for it, I believe in it, I believe that if you don't include the element of God, then it becomes very liberal, it becomes very topsy-turvy, meaning that it becomes anti-God, anti-Christ. It's more about how powerful we are as opposed to how powerful the one inside of us is. So today we're going to talk about that. Before I do that, a thing that's happening right now, it's kind of cool in the marketplace because Warrior DNA is all about bringing relevant current events and putting them into biblical perspective. How can you take natural things that are happening in the world, put supernatural perspective to them? Well, one thing that's really interesting is right now CNN just did this announcement of a TV show that's going on, and it's about the burro races that take place. They've started in 1949. Now, a burro race is basically a donkey race, right? And so the reason why the donkey is so well respected still today, there's been a lot of types of, we always say methods are many, principles are few, methods change, principles never do. Well, a method of transportation, donkey, which started way, way back, we heard Jesus on a donkey, we know that it went way back 2,000 years ago that donkeys were utilized for transportation. A donkey is kind of like a hybrid between a Tesla and a wheelbarrow. In other words, a wheelbarrow was absolutely, completely not functional for us to be able to use today. However, a Tesla is like state of the art, moving forward very fast. Well, a donkey's somewhere in between those. And a donkey today can carry more weight than any other type of vehicle other than some type of big truck. So I want you to think about that. Today, it is a very lowly creature, very humble, doesn't have a lot of hype around it, but it gets the job done. You know, in these burro races, the whole goal is to get your ass across the line first. So today, we're going to talk about how to get your ass across the line as you press towards the mark of that higher calling. Hey, Instagram, I want to say hi to you guys as well. Glad that you're tapping in. But today, we want to talk about if your race, maybe you're not in a race of asses today, but maybe your race is to get your life across a finish line where you hear well done. Well, what does that look like? One of the reasons why we're doing these groups for women in the marketplace, because we believe women are powerful. I am a woman, even though in my career, I haven't just spoken to women. I speak to men and women. I'm very gender neutral, I guess you say. If I am gender neutral on anything, it's in my conversation, because I believe the Bible is for everybody. I believe the Word of God is for everybody. And I believe, knowing right now, 72% of all women who have children are actually working at least 1 to 2 jobs. So we know women are in the marketplace. We know men are in the marketplace. But for some reason, there is a loud, ever since #MeToo, a loud beckoning of women crying out for significance, crying out to be heard, and really wanting gender equality, really wanting equal pay in the marketplace. Well, I believe that there's additional conversation that needs to be had in this. And this has nothing to do with your gender, your age, your color, your size. It has to do with your calling. And your calling is not gender specific. Your calling is not age specific. Your calling is about saying yes. Now, if you guys have followed me, then you know Larry and I have said yes. As of October last year, we began unplugging from the things that defined us. Unplugging, being willing to say yes to anything God asked us to do, give away our money, unplug from our notoriety or our public appearance as it related to all the awards and accolades that we had had, even in our relationship with how we were being viewed as in the marketplace, to be able to say, yes, God, whatever you need us to do. Now, this is pretty crazy, and I got to tell you, we're a number of months past that date of saying yes, but it's certainly a process of surrender. It's that process of learning to be a donkey, learning to be an ass, instead of trying to be the king of every room that you're in. How do you become the servant of the room instead of the king of the room? And I'll tell you, it requires boldness. It requires a faith like nobody else's business to come in and be the least among a room instead of trying to be the greatest in the room. To be able to come in and instead of branding yourself as the biggest, baddest, which is what we do in social media, it's all about the hype of how many people have we reached and how many lives have we changed, instead of coming in and just saying, I'm here to serve you. And so this has been an incredible journey for Larry and I. I want to tell you where it started. Well, it started years and years and years ago, but I had this vision not too long ago, and it was the vision that came off of me. I was on stage and I was leading worship out in Washington, D.C. at City Church. And I remember being on stage, and when I came off stage, Judah Smith, he was the pastor up there at City Church. And when I came off stage, I remember sitting through the worship service, just kind of being in a daze. I went home, I was really tired, fell asleep. After church, when I fell asleep, I went into this deep sleep, and I had this incredible dream. Now, in the dream, I was on stage worshiping. And it was weird because there were other worship leaders on stage, but there were this lamb and all these salt and pepper shakers all over the stage. And it was weird because they were like, we were just singing and worshiping, but these salt and pepper shakers were everywhere. And this little lamb was walking among us. It was just like we didn't even notice it was there. It was like kind of like a cat. And as soon as we were done with our worship set and it ended, Judah came back on, Pastor Judah, and he began to preach. Well, I went out in the dream. I went out and I sat in my seat, which was like on the second row. And I'm listening to a minister, and I could see something happening underneath the stage. And I was like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, I saw this lion underneath the stage and these bars, and it was padlocked. And this lion came right up to the front and got right up in the grill of those bars, and it roared massively, and it just shook the room. And in my dream, I heard a voice say, "For a season, I have caged the lion so that my people could become comfortable with the lamb. But I'm about to unleash the Lion of the tribe of Judah, that this generation is going to see it in a way they've not seen it before." Now, if you think about it, in our churches, we've become really comfortable with the grace message. We've become really comfortable with the light and the salt. We are the salt of the earth. We're supposed to love everybody. And I agree with that. And I'm so thankful that we've had like a decade of this salt and light messaging with the Lamb walking among us, the love of Jesus. Jesus is love. Jesus is peace. Jesus is joy. But let me just tell you something. Jesus is also the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And he's not going to hold back, and he's not going to stop a portion of himself. And I believe this is the generation right now where the lion is going to be unleashed. I believe right now, and if you're watching this, that means that you're hungering for something more. So this, the fact that you watch me at all on Facebook tells me that you're hungering for something more in your experience at church, hungering for something more in your experience at the office. You see things taking place. You see a spirit of narcissism. You see a spirit of greed. I'm talking about in businesses. I'm talking about in your boardrooms. I'm talking about in your break rooms. I'm talking about in your churches, maybe even in your homes. And I really believe this is what God is breaking off of us. I believe those are the bars that when we break down the bars of selfishness, greed, narcissism, things that point back to ourselves, and we begin to unleash, again, my book is called Unleashed and Anointed for Business, unleash the Lion of the tribe of Judah. I believe that is when we're going to begin to see miracles like we've never seen them before. I believe we're going to see lives change, blind eyes open, deaf ears open. When you read the book, you're going to see how many miracles Larry and I have been so blessed to see. People raised from the dead, eyes opened up, deaf ears opened up, people coming out of wheelchairs. He didn't just do that for a season and then shut it off. Scripture says that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So how do you use boldness, like it says in Acts 14? And the boldness of Peter was so strong that people recognized him on it and said, he must have been with Jesus. How do you get that kind of boldness, and how can it lay into your business life? How does it lay into your marriage or the intimacy in your marriage? How do you have it in your family? Well, I tell you, when you have the boldness of Christ, it means that you've got the Spirit of the living God that's taking up more residence in you than the things of this world. If you really want to get your donkey's ass across the line, I really believe the pressing towards the mark is getting rid of all that greed and selfishness and pressing towards something that's bigger. You want to have power in the workplace? Be bold in your faith. Be bold in your love. If you see somebody that's negative all the time, instead of shying away from them just because they annoy you, go to them. Be a thermostat in their life instead of a thermometer. A thermometer just goes, "Oop, that's what they are." A thermostat says, I can change that. I can be light. You know, Matthew says in the scripture, it says, you are born here to bring out the God colors in the world. You know, God didn't just put you in that job so that you would be like a light underneath a bushel. No, he put you there so that you would shine. Remember that song? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. What does that mean? Your boldness is attached to your light. The two work together. They're like power twins. So you're not some flickering light that goes or should go off and on. You should make it your daily practice to be bold in the marketplace. What does that mean? It might mean asking for a raise. It might be that you need to be the source of hope and joy in a very negative atmosphere. It might be that you see things going on that shouldn't be, so that you start to spread your joy, your light, and your faith around to begin to change the atmosphere. You don't need to step away from what you're called to. You need to light up your world, light up and be the source of hope, help, and healing, and create a hunger in the marketplace. I want to encourage you to join us this week. Ladies, if you're in town, you're here in DFW, I want to encourage you to join us at our M Women Connect group. You can just see the ad for it right there on my Facebook page. If you're not in town and you want to start an M Women Connect group, these are going to be, we're going to provide the training, we're going to provide the teaching, we're going to provide all the tools. All you have to do is to gather the ladies in a location. It could be your home. It could be in the workplace. It could be, we're going to start our first one at a restaurant here in Frisco, Texas, called Black Walnut Cafe. We believe that these, and already just by announcing this last week, we've got groups that are going to be started in Denmark, in Florida, in South Dallas, South Texas, Oklahoma, Illinois. I mean, we've got them all over, Michigan. We've got them all over popping up saying we want to start one. So what we said is, let us get past this first one. And then we're going to start these marketplace meetup groups, ladies, all over the globe. We want women to know. We already know that 64%, only 47% of women in the marketplace attend a religious service during the week. So they're not going to church. That means we're going to have to be the church. That means we're going to have to take this light, this boldness, this hope to people. There's people all over right now suffering with depression, with voices going off in their head. And I'll tell you, the reason why suicide, if you follow our podcast, this week on our podcast, M Women Podcast, you're going to see where it's dedicated to the conversation of voices in the head, because suicide is the number 2 cause of death right now. And we're speaking to that topic this week. I encourage you to join us. Be light. Let us just continue to pour into you so that you can have boldness in the marketplace, have boldness in your marriage, be confident to pray for your family, be confident to go into the room tonight with your husband and say, you know what, I just want you to know I'm being bold, and I just want you to know I love you. You are one sexy man. Maybe you haven't done that in a long time. Boldness is a weapon, and it can work on your behalf. I encourage you to have a great week this week. I look forward to seeing you next week on Warrior DNA.